So I'm not sure I most of the time care for these kinds of videos. And I'm certainly not doing it to get any sort of attention on this, but more to kind of tell our guys how I feel about them and what all the reasoning behind it, aside from obviously the announcements that I made and everybody knows and everybody's very understanding. I joined the Skrulls in either December of 2016, January 2017, something like that. I've only had a couple alliances in this game, and first one was a map 3 alliance. The Skrulls were my alliance for map 5. They have been everything to me. I don't just say that in jest, but it's been everything. The few months after I joined, I kind of became an officer. They kind of took me in for that. I was always the kind of guy that wanted to push, and so a few months after that, maybe about over a year ago, became the leader. And between that first account, which I retired, if you guys know the channel, and the second account, the Skrulls, and leading the Skrulls, and being an officer in the Skrulls, pretty much all I've known. The leadership thing has been a thing for over a year. In that time, went from top 1,000 to top 300 and even higher in AQ. Once we did the alliance split, I think the highest we've hit was top 21 because our focus was so much, or was 21st because our focus was so much on war in this season. We pushed with all those guys. Some of my best friends in the game, some of my best friends from the map 3 days came into the alliance, and I've been playing with them ever since. I always said that the best mix in this game is that mix of great rewards and playing that great camaraderie, playing with your friends, and being able to do that. And that's what it was. It's just such a good group that we built, and such great camaraderie and pushing, and there's nothing like playing with your best friends in game. I'm embarrassed to say that I didn't know you could create these kinds of friendships when you playing a game. I was never a big gamer, at least not in these alliance-based games, and so I never knew the kinds of relationships you could build. But it's no exaggeration when I say the best part of this all was that I met some of my best friends in this game. Now, when I came back to the channel, I had big goals for the channel. Some of those I have met, many of them are still ahead of me. And because of the way I am, I'm a pusher. When it comes to stuff, I always want to go. I always want to push harder. After season 2, which was you guys know, it was a disappointment to us because we were pushing for Plat 1 and then got some really bad matchups with alliances that had dropped, and we ended up in spot 1 of Plat 3, and it felt really bad. But at that point I was like, okay, we had talked to the officers a bunch. I was like, let's split this into a family. Let's have the people that want to, you know, kind of push at this level, which is still a very high level. It's just you know, it doesn't require all the craziness in the map 6s and all that stuff, the constant grind. Have those people be in one alliance, and then let's create a tailor-built alliance to push master, instead of saying like, oh, let's have a feeder alliance, send people down there. That felt a lot like sending people to a place where they don't, I don't know, where they'd have to rebuild. So instead of that, I was like, no, if I want to do this with the guys, I'll be the one to rebuild. It's not fair to change the status quo on people. And of course it's tough. It's tough because you have to fill up 2 alliances and all that. But that was our goal. We said season 3, master. We're building a tailor-built alliance. It's going to do it right and push master. There's a lot of craziness going on in the master bracket. There's a few alliances that are doing it very, very correctly and by the book, and my hat's off to them. And that's exactly what we set out to do as well. And it was a lot. It was a lot. I knew it was going to be a lot. I signed up for it, but I was like, I have to do this. I have to. It's what I want to do, and I want to do it with my buddies. But between the spreadsheets, between everything that you had to do, some nights where you're up till 3 a.m., 6 a.m., you know. And I do the type of leadership thing where it's all on me, absolutely, that I do this, but where I feel like I have to push, I have to be very hands-on. So, you know, BG leading and handling spreadsheets for MBG and doing some of that, and then overseeing the overall stuff. And, you know, it's an Alley family. We're all on the same Discord server, so you're getting hit up with DMs and all that. It gets to be a lot. And the channel, which I wasn't really building the way that I envisioned before, took even more of a backseat, which the channel itself, the stream is one of my favorite things with you guys. I have such a long content plan to get stuff out, but all of that stuff was, had to take a backseat because this was our #1 goal, and rightfully so. This is what we set out to do. There was no break. We had to push during the off season. We had to push during the season, it was a nonstop thing, and I commend the guys for doing everything we asked of them. I mean, it was so tough. We were going against the top 20 alliances in the world. Many times we had 8 master matchups. I know some master alliances had half of that, just the way the matchup RNG ended up working out. And it came down to the last war for us to save it. It was such a resource-heavy season. Everybody was pushing, everybody continuously. And I could not be more proud. It was the most amazing experience of my life, being able to do, of my in-game life certainly, being able to do this stuff with such a good group of guys, such a good vibe, and hit our goal through so much. You know, there's stresses, there's all sorts of stuff, a lot of work. The guys did everything we asked of them. You know, moves. There were some days people are doing alliance stuff and trying to move people in, transition people out who are retiring, all, you know, during work hours, and you're on a deadline. You have to do it before war starts, and it gets super intense. I had the best officer crew I could have ever hoped for. A and B both, like the people who stepped up to make this happen for an alliance split. Like me and my crazy ideas to do this stuff, it takes so many people to actually do it. But best group of guys, best group of officers. We had Shuntai, who I've handed over the alliance to. Shuntai and I were placing defenses together. We were assigning paths together. When people were tied up, we were doing so much together. He was a godsend this year. Crimson and Richie when he was in here, and everybody, EH with the treasury, Dirt, like all the recruiting officers doing everything to keep the alliance full. We had to go from 15 members when we split it or so to 30 in a couple of days, and then, you know, constant changes and switches during the season as we needed them. Legs and Lord were handling AQ and spreadsheets and all that stuff. Just the best group of guys. Relic also leading one of the BGs, and even though his schedule was so busy. So the most amazing, and I know that doesn't mean too much, but I want this to be recognition for the guys. The most amazing crew I could have ever hoped for. It was a crazy season. We had the craziest 2 weeks of matchups. It came down to the last war to win it. It was a rematch. In a rematch, we wound back badly against a very good alliance to seal it. We were trying to seal it for all of the last 2 weeks and had to go through, you know, ISO and MMX and Legion and ASR, and some of those are very close wars, but those alliances are so good. They're such like beastly alliances. So it came down to a rematch with Zeus, which we won. They had beaten us early in the season. They're such a great alliance. And it was really a storybook ending. I wouldn't have wanted to do it any other way. Now, when I was building this thing, and I'm going to try to keep this short, I know we're about 10 minutes in almost, but I knew a few weeks in, I was like, okay, this is the push, this is the Swan Song. I've been leading for a long time and being very involved. And some things were, oh man, so it's so fulfilling, but some things had taken a back seat, like the channel, like all these other goals I had. So I was like, okay, this is the final season that I'll be doing this. After the season, I'll step out. We started putting stuff in place, but my focus was 100% on the season, nothing else. I didn't talk to other people, other alliances, nothing like that. There was nothing on that. Like, until we finished the season, my focus was 100% there. The officers knew, but no one else knew. I was like, I don't want the focus to split in any way. I want the guys to be focused. I want them to know that my attention is on this completely. Even when people would ask if it ever came up in any way in any sort of separate conversation, I was like, dude, I'm not even thinking about it. Even people who knew, you know, after the season I may be stepping away from the Skrulls, I was like, I'm not thinking about it. My whole focus is on here. We'll talk after all that's done. Maybe we can talk then. Now we finished exactly where we wanted to. It was just phenomenal. It was everything we wanted to accomplish. And I knew in talks with the officers, I was like, I'm gonna have to step away after the season. I can't just step away to member. I can't. This has been my baby. There's no way. I have to be somewhere where I can just be a dude, pushing at the same level. I still want to push at the same level, but I can't have any of the administrative stuff. It's one of those things where I'm always gonna worry and think, and even as a member, about the Skrulls and what's going on in the background, and it would be very strange for me to not be the architect in the alliance that I built and not make the decisions in the alliance that I built. So this whole season was around getting the best people in the best positions in the officer corps, so nobody in the alliance itself did not skip a beat, did not miss a step once I stepped away, knowing that that's what was going to happen after the season. We were gonna do everything we could, but also I wanted to make sure I didn't want the alliance. If you don't set up the alliance to continue without you, I don't know if you are really doing your job as a leader. At least in my opinion, it shouldn't be one of those things where if the leader leaves, things change. You know what I mean? There's a transition, but I wanted it. That was my #1 priority, to make sure it was in good hands, because it's such good dudes, such amazing people. The experience itself, I've said, it was unbelievable. And you know, once the season ended, as bittersweet as it was, it felt right. Like I take solace in the fact that even though it's a tough decision, it always felt like, okay, after this, it feels right to go focus on the other things in my life. I've been making the opposite decision for a long time. Heck, I even retired the first time around and burned myself out instead of saying, is there another way? Like, would it be okay? Like, to give myself permission to step away from these guys, because they're such good guys. They're my best friends in game, and guys I've built, you know, this whole thing with. And so I knew, I was like, for this time in regards to the alliance, I have to, you know, people say do what's best for you, and I've always picked the other decision when it comes to Skrulls, because I love them so much. After this season, I knew I have to be somewhere where I'm just going to be a dude doing his thing. And I'm still pushing at a high level. That was always the way I wanted to do it, but I can't, you know, think about the administrative stuff because I have so much else to focus on. So, 13 minutes in or so, I want to say that after a year, I'm leaving the Skrulls, and I'm leaving them in the best hands possible. Best group I've ever had the pleasure of playing with. Thank you guys so much for everything. You guys, if you knew how fulfilling it's been to my life, even the stressful times, how fulfilling meeting you guys and being with you guys and doing that stuff has been to my life. I hope you know. If you knew, I think you definitely understand. Everybody's been very understanding and very, I know how it can be, you know, when you're leaving an alliance. And I typed up a novel to make sure everybody understood. But everybody's been nothing short of amazing and understanding with this stuff. I'm gonna miss every single one of them. It's the right decision in my life at the time. They're gonna keep going strong. What we accomplished, nobody can take that away. In 2 months, to get to that point, it was just it was phenomenal. It was a dream, and I wouldn't want to do it with any other group of guys. But Shuntai is going to be a phenomenal leader. He's going to be fantastic. I recorded this video earlier as I was grinding Arena, because I knew I'd be doing the voiceover later. The alliance is in his hands. It's in amazingly capable hands. I'm still going to be in those chats. Some of them I'm going to... still, those friendships aren't going anywhere. Still some of my best friends in the game, but for the first time, and it feels weird to be on the other side of the conversation and the recruiting combo and stuff like that. But for the first time in forever, minus my first alliance and then the teeny alliance I was in for a couple weeks when I came back and built the account back up, I'm leaving the Skrulls. And again, it's bittersweet. It's been the most amazing memories, but it's the right thing. And you boys, I hope you know what you mean to me. You guys have been the best. So thank you for everything. Thank you, honestly, from the bottom of my heart. And I'll see you boys around.